What's going on, you guys? Welcome to a brand new video. My name is Nathan and this is my channel Supreme Fishing, where I bring you some of the best Southeast Florida fishing content along with a few fish tank videos. This is my 2020 fishing arsenal. Over the past few years, I've gone through quite a few setups, testing out different setups to see what works and what doesn't work. I've also gotten into some new types of fishing. For instance, I've been starting to do trolley rigging off the pier, and that's something I've never done before, and I don't have a setup for it. I used one of my surf rods that I used to use for it, and that worked great, but I decided to get something a little bit better, and that's a new addition to my setup, and I actually have not used it yet. So today's video, I'm going to be showing you all of the setups that I'm going to be using this year. So as you can see, I got my rods wrapped around here, coming around my bed, and then coming out over here. This is my little section here. I have this like unit where I put all my fishing stuff. Needs to be organized a little bit. Me and my dad built this custom fishing rack that I use for holding my rods, because I had them all stacked like in the corner, just like sitting there. So all these rods that are here are like extra rods that I don't use. I just set my rods on here, and whenever I'm ready to use it, I pull them out. But we are going to talk about all of these rods that I have stacked right here. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with you guys saw the setups here. I'm gonna start off with one, and then we're just gonna work our way down until we get to the end. Okay, so if you watch my videos for any given amount of time now, in the past couple months, you've seen this setup before, and this is my absolute workhorse when it comes to catching snook, tarpon, jacks, and anything of that nature in saltwater, and also in freshwater. I use it for snook and tarpon fishing. So this right here is my Spinfisher VI 4500, and as you can see, I have the big Swimbait tied on. This is the 8-inch Savage Gear Swimbait. This setup is mostly for bigger fish. I use this a lot for snook fishing and tarpon fishing. I also use this a lot on the pier for whenever we go on the pier and we throw bigger X-Wraps and things of that nature. So this is the Penn Spinfisher 4500 reel. So this is an 8-foot offshore angler power stick 2-piece rod, and I've used this for a couple months now, and I gotta say, this is probably one of the best rods I've had for the price for snook fishing, tarpon fishing, things of that nature. The reason I love this rod so much is that it is perfect for throwing those swim bait type baits and bigger swim baits like this. Perfect for that. And once you hook into a bigger size fish, you'll have no problem fighting that fish. And obviously, you don't have to have the Penn Spinfisher 4500. You can pair it up with something bigger, smaller, anything of that nature. Depends on what you're doing. But if you guys are looking to a solid combo that'll be cost efficient and will get the job done, you definitely want to get your hands on the Penn Spinfisher 4500. Pair it up with a power stick, and you'll be swim bait fishing for snook. And I can also use this for other applications too, if I'm snook fishing, live bait, things of that nature. But overall, this is probably one of my favorite setups. And most of the time when I'm fishing, I have this guy with me. The next setup we have is my Snakehead setup. So I don't do much freshwater fishing for peacock bass and largemouth bass, so I don't have like a dedicated setup for that. But if it's one fish that I fish for all the time, it is Snakehead when I go freshwater fishing. So this right here is my Snakehead setup. This is you guys have seen me use this setup before. This is the PC Fun Torrent rod. It is a 7-1, I believe, yeah, 7-1. Medium heavy action, fast tip, 12 to 50 pound, 1/4 to 1 ounce lures. Really, really sturdy rod. I've pulled out some big snakeheads with this setup, and I have it paired up with the PC Fun Phantom Baitcaster. I've got it spooled up with 50 pound braid right now, but I'm probably going to roll it down to maybe like 30. I had 30 on it before, but I'm probably going to take it back down to 30 because the casting distance with this isn't great. I just wanted to try out 50 to see how it is, but I don't really like it. But overall, this setup is a mean setup for snakehead. I've caught some big snakeheads, and this thing has no problem pulling out those bigger fish. And definitely one of the lightest baitcaster setups I've ever used. I've used multiple baitcaster setups for snakehead fishing, and this one definitely is the lightest setup I've ever used. Okay, so moving on to the next setup. This right here is my absolute workhorse when it comes to throwing those smaller baits like the X-Wraps, throwing smaller baits for jacks, snook, tarpon off the beach. So I was spillway fishing with my friends, and we were at the spillway throwing baits for snook. And for some reason, I hooked into a snook, on my star rod, and the rod snapped at the third guide. So like right here, snapped like that right there, and now I don't have my star rod. So you've seen me use the star rod. I have a 7.6 star rod, had a 7.6 star rod, but I'm getting it replaced by a star rod with a warranty, the lifetime warranty. Before I broke my star rod, I had this reel on it, the Shimano, I didn't say Shimano. I had the Shimano Sienna 4000 FD. This is the newer, latest model of the Sienna line, and I installed the Gomex's power knob on it. But this reel, I have caught probably over 100 fish on this reel in total when it comes to fish in total, any type of fish, snook, tarpon, jacks, everything like that. And I've used this for peacocks, I've used this for bass, I've used this for snakehead, everything you can think of I've caught on this reel, and I've had no problem with it, and it hasn't broken on me yet. I've had this reel for about 1.5 years, no issues. And I have this one right now at the moment. I have it paired up with my jawbone rods, and you guys have seen me use these 7-foot jawbone rods. I've caught tons of fish on these. As soon as I get my star rod back, I'm throwing this baby back onto the star rod, and I'm gonna be using that. But this reel, one of the best reels I've ever used for the price point at $30. Okay, so now the reason I have 2 rods with me is that these are like my miscellaneous rods that I use. So this right here, one of my favorite reels, is the PC Fun Viper 2 reel in the 4000 size, and I also installed a Gomex's power knob on this reel, and it matched perfectly with the green accents and everything. Really awesome reel. And I have this paired up with a jawbone 7-foot as well. What I normally do, I have 3 of these jawbone rods, and whichever I feel like fishing with, I'll grab it and fish with it. With my Sienna, this one, and this other reel I have, which I'll show you guys right now. You guys have seen these reels. I've used these reels on my channel. The Carbon X from PC Fun, also paired up on a 7-foot jawbone rod. And these reels I use, like, say if I'm freshwater fishing and I don't feel like, maybe I don't want to fish with the Sienna, I'll grab this rod and I'll fish with it just to switch things up, fish with a different reel. I have these 2 rods here. These rods I use for a lot of bottom fishing mostly, for snappers and things of that nature. But the story behind this rod, my dad actually bought a reel with this rod. It was a Penn, I think it was a 4th generation spin fisher, and it was a 650, and this is the rod that it came with. So this is actually an old school rod. This is a Penn Captiva rod. Very, very old rod. They don't make these anymore. But very, very nice rod. Very, very sturdy rod for handling some big fish. So I use this mostly for bottom fishing. Now the problem with this rod is one of the guides were broken, and I'll show you guys the guide right now. It was this guide right here. And I know how to repair guides. So I repaired it, and now this rod's fully functional again, and I'm able to use it I can pair this up with any reel I want that I have if I'm doing bottom fishing. So that's what I use this setup for. And then this rod right here is a 6.6 Tiger Elite jigging rod. I use this a lot. was using this a lot for trolley rigging because I didn't have a setup for trolley rigging, but now I do. So I'm going to be showing you guys that in a bit. But this is a absolute beast of a rod. I can throw some super heavy baits on this. This is a 6.6, 50 to 100 pound, 4 to 7 ounce lure. So I can throw some massive, massive baits on this. And I've caught some pretty nice fish on this. I love using this rod actually for live baiting because I can throw those heavier baits, pilchards, and it's a shorter rod, not really made for casting distance and things like that. But overall, pretty solid rod. Caught some pretty good fish on this one too. Okay, so the next setup that we got on the list, this is my bottom setup that I used for fishing on bridges and the piers. And I actually have not used this one as much. This is my Squall 60 LD. So this is a big boy. And I've got it spooled up with 50-pound mono, and I've got it on a Power Plus Trophy Class Bass Pro rod. One of my older bottom rods that I have. It's a 7-foot. I actually have not caught much fish on this yet because of the fact that I haven't used it as much. Okay, so now for the setup my new trolley rig setup that I'm gonna show you guys. So the story behind this one, I wanted to get a smaller, the only conventional reel I had that was good was my 60 LD. Now the 60 LD, the Squall, is a pretty big reel, and it isn't really that great. It's pretty hard to cast it, especially with the weight. It's a really heavy reel, and it's not really made for those long distance casting. So what I did is I bought a smaller conventional reel. I bought the Penn Fathom 30, and it is a perfect size reel for trolley rigging, and I can handle a lot bigger fish on it if I wanted to. Now the problem is I didn't have a rod for it. So what I decided to do was I was gonna go to Bass Pro and pick up a Star Rod Deluxe, which is about 125, and that rod is 8 foot. What happened is I stumbled upon TNR Tackle, and when I walked into TNR Tackle, the guys are super nice there, and I saw this rod there that I was like, man, this is a nice rod for maybe my trolley rigging, and it was 9 foot, the length I was looking for. Josh came up to me and he was like, I'll make you a good deal on it, and I was like, what's the deal? He's like, $100 is yours. I was like, are you kidding me? Twisting my arm. So I picked up this 9 foot 2-piece rod. So maybe you guys better look at this. So this is the Fathom 30. Very, very nice reel. I got a good deal on Amazon for this. You guys will see this. Whoops. You guys will see this, me using this reel in some upcoming videos for sure. I'm definitely going to be using this, but this is a beast of a rod, beast of a setup, and I'm going to be using this a lot on the pier, so you guys definitely want to stay tuned for that. Okay, so now moving on to my surf setups. Now this reel is a very versatile reel that I use. I actually put this reel on my 6'6" Tiger Light rod that I showed you guys earlier, but this right here is the Spinfisher 6500, the 5th version, not the 6th version. And this, I've had this one for a little while now, and I've caught some pretty good fish on this. I use this a lot for bottom fishing for snappers, but one thing I'm going to be doing this year is pompano fishing, and I have this paired up on a 10-foot Penn Spinfisher V rod. I've got it spooled up with 25-pound mono. I had braid on it before, but since I'm using it for pompano fishing, and I actually use this a little bit for trolley rigging, I decided to put mono on it, and it would be a lot easier for me to fish with it instead of braid, because it's a little bit difficult with braid. So I guess this setup was like sitting in the middle of my big setups, but this right here is a Viper 2 3000 from PC Fun. As you can see, I left the original handle on this one, and this is the reel that I caught my first tarpon on, my little small tarpon that was freeline baits. I didn't catch it with this rod, I was on a drop-on rod, but this right here is a Shimano Stimula rod. There was a broken guide on this one and I fixed it, and now I use this for like my small peacock rod setup, very light, like fun peacock bass setup, and small freshwater stuff like that. I don't use this for anything else. I could use this for tarpon, but now that I'm throwing bigger baits, this is like out of the picture now. But if I'm live baiting in freshwater, this is perfect. I could throw shiners, bluegills. But again, another one of my smaller setups, lighter setups I use for peacock bass mostly. So this right here is a Penn Battle 5000. I've had this reel for I think like 3 years. I bought it at a pawn shop a long time ago with an ugly stick, and I've been using it ever since, and I've caught my biggest snapper on this. I've caught snook, I've caught lots of stuff on this, and it's pretty much my go-to setup for bottom fishing and things like that. And I also have this paired up with a 10-foot Battle 2 graphite rod, and this is my second pompano rig for this coming up season. With the pompano start coming in, I'm going to be using this for that purpose only, and then eventually I'll switch it back over. I usually have this on my 6'6" rod as well, and I'll use that for live baiting, throwing out big baits like that. But this Battle, very awesome reel. If you guys are on a budget, you can definitely get yourself a Battle. Very awesome setup. Okay, and for those of you that may not know, I actually do a bit of fly fishing. Fly fishing is something that I recently got into maybe about a year ago. Problem is, I started doing it, and all I would throw is the fly, and then I kind of like fell off with it, and I didn't fish with it as much. And I really want to try to get back to it, but I have two fly setups here that I have. I have this right here, and this thing, wow, this thing is full of dust. But this setup right here is a 9-foot White River Dogwood Canyon fly setup. This is a 5/6 weight. This is like my light peacock bass setup, maybe a light snook setup. I don't use this one as much as my other setup, but this is like a really fun way to catch like small, maybe bigger, actually pretty big peacocks. You can catch pretty big peacocks on this. A light setup, just like a light setup, spinning setup you'd use for peacock bass or things like that. But this right here, I've caught a lot of peacocks and bass, things like that, mine cichlids. Lots of fun on this setup. Okay, so this is my final setup that I'm going to be showing you guys out of my line of setups for my Arsenal of 2020. So this right here is my go-to fly rod setup that I use. So this right here is a Max Catch Extreme 9-foot rod, and it's an 8 weight. and it's actually a 4-section rod. So, and what I have here, this is a casking fly reel, and I have it spooled up with a 7/8 fly line, and it is floating line, and I've used that for lots of peacocks. I actually have not caught a snook or a tarpon on fly yet, but I've caught a bunch of peacocks on this setup. Really good setup. That's pretty much it for all of my setups for 2020. Okay, so I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video showing you guys all of my setups that I'm gonna be using in 2020. Once you get into the fishing, it's not just like, oh, I have one setup, I'm gonna use this for everything. You have to have different setups for different things. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like, comment down below if you have any questions. Actually, comment down below what's your favorite setup that you have at the moment. For me right now, like I said, I can't go wrong with my power stick 8-foot with my Spinfisher 4500. That's my workhorse right there for catching big fish. And be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.